Greetings and thanks for tuning in for this exclusive conversation with the brilliant creators and cast behind the Emmy Award-winning HBO Max series Hacks. My name is Nick McCarthy and I'm the Director of Programming here at NewFest, New York's leading LGBTQ+ film and media organization. We're delighted to host this conversation following an advanced screening of episodes 1 and 2 of the much anticipated second season of Hacks, as we've been rabid fans of this slick and smart series since it first broke out, and season 2 Beyond delivers. We'd like to thank our friends and partners at HBO Max for their commitment to multi-dimensional queer characters and storytelling, and for making this virtual event possible. And remember to check out season 2 of Hacks, premiering Thursday, May 12th on HBO Max. Now, please join me in welcoming the moderator for today's conversation, the special projects editor at Harper's Bazaar, Nojan Aminosharei.
Hi guys, thank you to NewFest and HBO Max for letting me be in a room with Gene Smart, even if it's just a Zoom room. Despite the name of this show, not a bunch of hacks who work on it, so we have a really big group, a really great group, and that's why we're going to be breaking this panel up into two. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the panelists of our first segment. We have first Gene Smart, who plays Deborah Vance.
Hi.
There we go. We have Hannah Einbinder, who plays Ava Daniels.
What's up?
We have Paul W. Downs, who is one of our co-creators, co-showrunners, EPs, writers, and a cast member who plays Jimmy.
Too much. Hello.
We have Lucia Aniello, who is also a co-creator, co-showrunner, EP, writer, and director.
Hi. I forgot.
Forgot to say hello. You thought the titles were just going to keep going for another 10 minutes. And finally, we have Jen Statsky, who is the co-creator, co-showrunner, EP, and writer.
Hey.
Hi. A lot of hats being worn at the same time in this room. I'm so excited to talk to you all. And I just wanted to kind of dive in with, a very easy question for you, which was the pressure of a season 2. How did you deal with it? How did you discuss it? What were your thoughts on entering this show now that you've seen the public take to it in such a adoring way?
Yeah. Well, I think, when Paul and Jen and I first came up with the idea for the show like 7 years ago, that gave us the luxury of being able to talk about it for a really long time before we actually made it. And as a result, when we initially pitched the show, we really pitched the entire series, and we really knew kind of what we wanted to say in the show and the journey for the characters, as well as the ending. So luckily, we didn't have to come up with season 2 from scratch. We knew pretty much what we wanted to do, and that was take them on the road and have Deborah go back to basics in a lot of ways and build back better, as Paul has been saying. And so as a result, we didn't really have to so much worry about the pressure because we kind of already had a blueprint, and that really allowed us to not really feel pressure and really just keep on trucking on what was working. And it was helpful to, now have the strength of being able to, having the ability to write to the strength of the cast, because, once you spend so much time with them, you get to really know the breadth of their abilities. That really freed us up as writers to just go nuts.
Great. The last season ended with, such a bombshell in the interpersonal lives of these two characters. So it sounds like you had a plan already to kind of get in and out and turn that into drama for the show moving forward, it sounds like.
We wanted to, in a way, reset the relationship, because I think this sort of dark mentorship nightmare boss scenario is something that anyone can relate to, whether you're in the creative field or any field. So we wanted to have a resetting, but we also wanted to go deeper. And obviously what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we knew we wanted to get them to a place that hopefully was even deeper than we were season 1. And luckily, we have such an incredible cast that they made it even better than we imagined.
Yeah. Some of the fallout of that email that Ava sends at the end of the first season really gives us these moments of not just comedy and levity in the first 2 episodes, but of a lot of pathos too. And that scene between you, Hannah, and Jean in the diner or the restaurant where Deborah forces Ava to read the email. There was a moment where I could see, Jean, your character was smiling at the list of the horrible things that she had done to Ava, and then when it got personal, that smile faded. How for you two in your relationship on screen? How do you mix that kind of comedy and pathos to find something so kind of organic the way that you do?
So go ahead.
Ladies first.
I've said this before, and I'm not saying it just because they're here, but it always comes from the writing. But also, too, I mean, in real life, we all have that mix of things every day, and it's just a matter of noticing them and observing, and because it is a funny scene, but it's also excruciating to watch because it is so hurtful. But at the same time, you're right. Deborah thinks some of the things that she did and said to people weren't so bad, and some of them were kind of amusing. So she that's the thing I love about her. I mean, she's just such a mix of those things. I mean, she's very complicated. She's much more vulnerable and able to be hurt than she rarely allows to show that.
Yeah. I mean, Hannah, it's so clear that you and Jean have such a loving, relationship, and this may just be the magic of acting and movie and TV making. But how do you not shit yourself during scenes like that?
How do you know I don't? That's
How do you what yourself?
I'll tell you later.
What was the question?
How do I not shit myself?
Oh.
With you. It's terrifying. Like, yeah. Jean and I will do bits where I know they're bits. Like, we were going to wear the same thing to an event, and she called me and she was like, let's wear the same thing to an event. And then we showed up to the event and she acted like, she was like, what are you doing? Like, how did this happen? And I, knowing it was a bit from earlier, believed her, got scared, and was like, oh my God, am I in trouble? Like, it is scary. She's that like, it's terrifying, but like, it's a combination of like really specific and incredible direction, amazing writing, and being able to act alongside an actor who is real. That scene, there was no end to the well of emotion and, frankly, tears, because I was sitting across from this person who was doing such like minuscule, sort of making such minuscule choices that had such intense weight. And so it does feel real for me. And I'm lucky to act alongside Jean, where throughout the rest of the show, when there are emotional moments, it's just, it becomes real.
Fun fact, they each only did 2 takes.
Oh.
That's
What was that?
I say fun fact that you guys actually only did that scene on each side twice in the coverage.
That's right.
It was They both nailed it very quickly, so that's a testament to their ability to absolutely nail it and make us look good and make our day move.
Our line producer loves that.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, there are certain scenes, because sometimes people ask, oh, how do you cry, on camera or things like that, and you just think, well, there are certain situations or certain words that you say that I think, how can you not cry? If you really think about the actual reality of it, or you're reading certain words, that's why the writing is so vital.
And we're talking at NewFest, LGBTQ plus film and media. So I wanted to ask about LGBT plus in film and media. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys about was, you've surrounded Deborah in this ensemble, this really amazing ensemble, with a lot of queer characters. And I wanted to know if that was a deliberate thing, if that was an organic thing, and what that kind of brings to the table in terms of an ensemble.
Yeah, I mean, the show when we conceived of it, it was about Deborah Vance, but it was also about her ecosystem and the people in her life. And we wanted it to feel real. And those are the people that we just felt would be in her world. And yeah, we also just wanted to reflect the world as we see it and we live in it, and give characters like rich, full lives. And this happens to be who they are, happens to be their orientation, but it's not the only thing about them or the only way we are seeing their lived experience. And so, yeah, it was both it was conscious that we felt this felt real and how Deborah Vance's world would look, but also unconscious in the sense that we just write the world as we see it and we experience it as we want it to be.
It strikes me in the same way that I, love seeing a Deborah Vance on screen, but would maybe not necessarily want her to be my mother.
Why not?
Well, you know what? If the growth of season 2 continues, maybe I do. But in the same way, I feel like a Deborah Vance character would draw in a lot of people who are queer and who idolize this kind of personality in media, because they're idolizing it from a distance, and then the reality of it is maybe a little bit more complicated. So it feels very authentic to me. I feel like I would probably go work for a Deborah Vance, and then cry every night.
Well, and Deborah's very, very un-PC, and they kind of work for her in spite of that. But there's something about people that are very non-politically correct that at least that they're being honest. So the people that work for her, they know that at least she's being, if she's not always politically correct with them, they know that she's at least being herself and she's being authentic with them.
Yeah. And do you guys find, there is nobody who sort of has a thicker skin and reacts to a non-PC comedian better than the gay community? I feel like they really roll with the punches in the way that maybe others might not.
I would think that, especially if you had felt for years either invisible or insulted or written off, with a lot of cliches, that it could be fun to watch somebody who just sort of says whatever they think about you at this at the moment, or that their jokes may sound like they're at your expense, but they're actually coming from sort of a place of affection. I would think that would be appealing. I don't know.
I would say that, for sure. Like, I definitely think that queer people and any person who is a member of a marginalized group is more likely to need humor to get through their lives. I think that if humor is a coping mechanism, as it is, speaking for me personally, in a huge way, and you're also going through life and, you know, kind of gathering like a thicker skin, I think you would be more inclined towards a Deborah Vance, you know? And I think like right now in comedy, there's this like weird, like sort of like alt, like it feels like a right-wingy force that's being like, you guys, like all you like Gen Z, like millennial, like they're kind of like grouping queer people into that, I would say. Like they're saying that we like can't take jokes. Like that's the whole thing. It's like, no, we can take jokes. We just have such high standards because we've taken so many of these sort of lowbrow jokes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely think that like these like iconic female comics have like, you know, your Kathy Griffins, your Joan Rivers, like they have these queer fan bases because we all share this common language and this love language of, you know, comedy.
Yeah. And Jean, I wanted to kind of actually go back and ask you, you know, there was a time in television when Designing Women was on. And by the way, every Sunday I would wake up, I would watch Ninja Turtles and then Designing Women as a kid. And if that's not the gay agenda, I don't know what is. But you know, there was a period then where it was very subversive and very radical to have, as Designing Women did, an HIV positive character on an episode and have them be treated with kindness. Or for the men at Cheers to discover that one of the bar patrons is also gay and to sort of deal with that. Or Blanche on Golden Girls to find out her brother's gay and to sort of come to terms with what she feels about that. You know, but how have you seen us kind of move on from that kind of representation of that was very needed at that time of gay people to a more kind of, you know, as our great co-creators and showrunners were saying, a show where they're just there and they have full lives, and it's
well, I mean that's always the goal. I mean, back then it was, you know, a very special episode. You know, not our show didn't approach it that way, but I mean that was sort of the feeling of, you know, the AIDS episode, or and now it is you want to just see people as people that are flawed and or not, and obviously the more something is seen and the more commonplace something is, the more you know, knowledge is power. But again, you want to make sure though that you can still criticize people, you know, and I think that's, you know, again, that's happening as well. That criticize in the sense that, you know, it's like this person is not necessarily a hero because they're gay, or they're a hero because they're black, or they're a hero because they're a woman. They're a hero because they're a hero, or they're a bad guy because they're a bad guy, you know.
Yeah. And somebody like a Deborah Vance would make fun of them and their foibles because that's what you do in comedy, no matter.
Oh, I mean, she says dreadful things, but again, she's people like that. Sometimes you kind of like, because at least you know what you see is what you get, you know.
Yeah. There's an episode later in the season. We won't spoil too much of it, but it does involve a cruise and a lot of gay women. And I sort of wanted to talk to you guys about the rest of the season and episodes like that and moments like that you're really excited about. What can we look forward to, and what like shenanigans are we going to see Deborah and Ava get into that you want people to preview?
Who wants to take that one?
Ooh.
I feel like Paul hasn't gotten a good one yet. This one's you, Paul.
You know, being on the road, it can be a lonely place, and both Deborah and Ava have some brushes with romance, and I'm very excited for people to see that. I thought that was a fun thing, personally.
Because when it's out of town, it doesn't count, right?
That's right.
It's on the road.
What happens in Memphis stays in Memphis, you know?
Right.
there's some Deborah Vance performing, but not performing the way you've seen before, that I am excited for people to see. How
Oh
about that?
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And we see Deborah's side mansion. How's that? Deborah has another mansion that we'll get to explore.
It's true.
It's really good.
We need more Deborah Vance interiors in our lives, on our screens.
You
I
get
did
more
miss my
inspiration.
house. I did miss my house this year.
I know.
Wild interiors.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, that is plenty to keep me up at night between episodes. I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time out to talk to us. I am very excited to talk to our next round of hacks, not hacks. So thank you everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ciao for now.
Bye. Hi, Newfest. Hi, fans of hacks. We're here for our second panel with the great talent of this great show. I'm Nojan, Aminosharei. I'm the special projects editor at Harper's Bazaar, and I am with Clemons-Hopkins.
Hello.
Wave to the fine people. Yeah, you guys want to give a little? Come on, give a little show, a little love.
Oh goodness. Oh wow. Okay.
We have Meg Stalter, who plays Kayla.
Yay.
And we have Mark Indelicato, who plays Damien. Hi. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out to talk to us. Very
Thank
excited
you.
for season 2. The good audience at Newfest has seen the first 2 episodes, and we've got them hooked. They're ready for more, but they're just going to have to watch on HBO Max, I guess. And I wanted to kind of just dive in and ask you, after the really great response that season 1 got, what did it feel like going into season 2? Did you guys feel any pressure? Did you feel excitement? What was the vibe like? What was the vibe shift like in season 2?
I was just happy to go and get back with my friends. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that we're all really excited and obviously grateful and thrilled about the success of the first season. But for me, it was like, oh, I get to go and hang out with my friends again. That was the most exciting part.
Yeah. And also it was less of a shift situation. It's just that none of the wonderful things about last season were with outside response in mind. So we're very grateful it was positive, but that's not something we're really bringing into the creative space. We're kind of just happy to have a job, but also happy to be able to work on such good material with people that we enjoy working with.
Yeah, it was really like, oh my God, what do we get to do this time? And it was like just a big reunion of like, oh, it's time to see our family again. Like it didn't feel like stressful or pressure. It just felt like fun and like, I don't know, my heart's so full to be. We got really lucky. Like, how often does that happen where you all click right away and you feel like best friends and family?
Yeah, true. Do you guys feel that this season there's more cross-pollination? Do you think that are you experiencing more of your characters on screen together? Are you able to play in new ways that you didn't before?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that this season there's a lot of there is a lot of cross-pollination, but also in terms of the relationships that already exist that you like from season 1, like you get to delve a little bit more into them and get to see a bit more just get there's more nuance to the relationships that already exist and that were introduced to you in season 1. And you get a little bit more context and there's a bit more vulnerability, but and there are also like some friendships that or relationships that might develop between characters that like you wouldn't necessarily think would have happened before. So that's exciting.
Yeah, you really see like, I mean, even with Jimmy and Kayla, like this deeper, like these sweet moments of sincerity and like, oh, she really does love him and wants to be like close friends. And I think the whole show is like really this love letter of between friends. Like it's this like friendship love story. And like those are my favorite things to watch because it's such a big part of our lives, and friendships are very romantic. I mean, you're with your friends longer than people that you make love to.
What a way to put it, Meg. What an interesting way to put it.
Me, Meg.
No, but your friends, like that's your family. It's really sweet, and we're lucky that we all love each other in real life. And also, I don't say the phrase "make love in real life." That was just for the interview.
Yeah, I don't believe it for a second. I think you're using it. I think it's in a holster in your lexicon somewhere. You are just using it every chance you get. Carl, I wanted to ask, what was the reaction that you got to last season to Marcus's kind of blossoming and then imploding love life? Did you get a lot of shippers online?
I wouldn't know, but
shippers, Carl, shippers means that like when there's two people that are in a romantic entanglement on TV and you want them to see them together, you ship them, relationship. So were there people that wanted you, did you get responses about? You have to put these in there in layman's terms for them. You have to.
It's like I can't recall.
Next question.
I see. Sure. Yes. And I guess in that context, I was one of them. I really wanted and do still really root for them. But I also am really rooting for Marcus to kind of get his shit together in the emotional awareness front. I think that's the only way for that to actually happen, with Wilson or with anybody. He is someone who doesn't have any friends. He's someone who, outside of his mom and his aunt, doesn't get to experience his own communities. He's kind of just very one-track minded. And I think what we're seeing this season is the harvest of that kind of personality trait, the kind of work-life non-balance situation. So, but I'm definitely, siding with the
shippers.
The shippers.
Shippers. Yes. Very team.
Look at that. From you went in 3 minutes, you went from not knowing what a ship was to being just massively shipping. I mean,
it's called
teamwork all over the place. Yeah,
teamwork.
We've opened up a heart and a mind here today.
Yes,
Meg, I think.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
So presumably, we're going to see a little bit more of that. We're going to see Marcus kind of come out of his shell a little bit.
Yeah, in directions both helpful and non. Yes. Yes, indeed.
I come out of my shell in only non-helpful ways, so it's a step.
I mean, that's real.
Oh, don't say that about yourself.
Mr.
Look at you.
You've
got an office with a view. That's helpful.
Right?
Yeah.
The little necklace, the style.
Now we're just on a Zoom describing.
Oh no, Meg's flirting.
There's a plant in your life. I can
You have
see.
the best
Living.
last name.
This seems to be a good segue to ask Meg. Who do you freshly get to terrorize this season? Who is going to enter Kayla's gravitational pull?
I think it's mainly Mr. Jimmy. I think that you see though a lot of like, as much as she's terrorizing him, you do see like, wow, she really does love him. And I think there's some just really sweet moments this season of like their friendship. Because I think that even though he doesn't feel the same about her, he does like want what's best for her. I think he does like care for her. And I think you see that. And it's really sweet.
I love it.
But yeah, I do imagine though, like, I always say that I think that like this isn't written in the script, but I think she has a bunch of like male model boyfriends. And I'm sure she's annoying them every day. But we don't see in the show. I also keep pitching that she has one wild night with Deborah, or like, I think it'd be so funny if they hook up, but they didn't say yes to that idea.
I mean, you had a great pitch on your hands, and then suddenly it became like slash fiction, and they were hooking up, and it seemed.
Well, I think that they have one crazy night of they're making out at a mall. They're at the club. I just think one night where they get drunk together.
Yeah.
Get this woman a writer's credit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a Penthouse at Caesars or
I'm not saying yes, but
some such.
Mark, how about you? I mean, how are you excited to kind of show more of Damien, not just his mastery over the Vance estate, but for us to sort of see more of his inner life?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that you get to see as much like his inner life. I mean, what Damien does when he goes home is still very much a mystery to all of us. Or if it does he go home? Who knows? I mean, I think that the most fun that I had this season was just being able to really lean into like Damien's tendency towards panic, but while simultaneously being resourceful, you know, like he's resourceful and like gets the job done, but in a very manic way. And I think that has been a really like fun line to toe, is like when does resourcefulness like end and just straight up abject panic begin? Because the two can't really exist at the same time. And I think that, you know, and also being, you know, on the road and on this bus, you know, for the whole season, essentially, for me was really, really fun. I mean, I think that I also had such a blast getting to be able to like work more with Hannah like closely and like really kind of have that scene with Hannah where Damien and Hannah kind of like, or Damien and Ava like kind of level with each other. And you know, I mean, it's just a blast. Like, it's just a blast to get to like go to work every day. And like, I would sit on a tour bus with all of these people for as long as it took. You know, it's like, I want to be as close to them as possible all the time. So, you know, this was a perfect season.
Yeah. We were talking earlier with Jean and Hannah about the idea that this show has such a great ensemble and a very diverse ensemble, and particularly an ensemble that has a lot of different kinds of queer characters in it, whose sexuality is secondary, which is great. But one thing that kind of struck me in that conversation was that a Deborah Vance might actually, queer people might gravitate to work for a Deborah Vance. You know, like there's something about that kind of older comedian who's on PC, who is very glamorous, that I feel like, as I said to the others, I would go work for her and then I would cry every night. You know, I would be lured in. What do you think the appeal is of characters like that to, you know, to the queer community? Because we really do seem to love them so much.
Well, there is definitely an element of finding success even in the margins that she definitely represents. And the type of, I mean, women in comedy have always kind of been, from my observation, not necessarily the ones in power. So even you look at like Lunel, who's on our show, who is the closest to like a Deborah Vance that I can think of as far as international acclaim and doing this forever. You know, there's that's very appealing to a lot of people, and especially for anyone who has found themselves in an underdog situation, or in a cast out situation, or in a being told you're not what you actually are, which in this situation, you know, there are some women who are very funny. That concept of an entire cross section of humanity not being capable of comedy is just the biggest piece of bullshit ever. So for me, at least, that's what's very appealing about a character like Deborah.
And she's an icon. Like, I think that like the queer community loves to see someone who's fully themselves and fully like rose above, like you said, like so much adversity. Like she's fully herself, and even if she's being mean in certain situations, like she's being true to herself, and she's protecting herself when, you know, no one else was. Like, I think that that's really encouraging to see and like exciting to see. And yeah, she's a classic glamour, like gorgeous, confident, knows who she is, and doesn't care what other people think of her.
I also think that, you know, the queer community, or at least myself as a queer person, responds so much to self-deprecation, like as a defense mechanism. Because in a lot of ways, you know, you find yourself as a queer, like as a young queer person, or in certain situations where like you are the butt of the joke, whether you want to be or not. And I think that like taking that and finding power in that is really is encouraging and inspiring, like to see someone like you know, like an icon like a Deborah Vance stand up on stage and like rip everyone else to shreds, but also like kind of rip herself to shreds as well. Like I feel like there's that kind of I don't know. I mean, I just think that self-deprecation is important to the queer community, as well as just like fun shade. Like, I mean, the things that Deborah says to Ava, like maybe some people think are mean. I think that that's just fun shade and it's hilarious. Like when she's just like, yeah, just put your left hand in your pocket. Like it's just like just like little things like that I think are hilarious. And if someone said it to me, I'd be like, well, I guess maybe you're right. I'll just put my left hand in my pocket. Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for the tip. You know, like and that's kind of my summation.
I get really emotional when I see the character stand up for herself. Anytime Deborah has a moment where she's like, no, that's not how I'm going to be treated, it makes me really emotional and makes me feel like I could do anything, because I see this woman, this character who's like, yeah, I don't know, like she's being told, you know, she's washed up or whatever, it's not her time, and then she's like, no, this is my moment. That's powerful to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is all I had for you guys this time around. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Love to be in such a good-looking Zoom room. So yeah, thanks to you guys. Thank you to NewFest for letting us do this, and thanks to HBO Max, where people can actually watch Hacks Season 2.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
NewFest.